We're back! Season 9, Episode 23, The Big Mac Question. This episode is the greatest episode ever made in the history of the universe. Any questions? Alright, so this is actually a really strange episode to talk about because of reasons I'll try to go into. I can't summarize, so I'm just going to go down the list, shall we? So we start off with the documentary-style opening. Now, this music is perfect for this episode. And the trading conversation concept, this is something that's done semi-frequently. It's when one line of dialogue is split up between multiple people. You know, that kind of a thing. Naturally, I like the idea that Discord periodically just kind of checks in on his friends. Invisibly, of course. He's just kind of present and hasn't announced himself. And he's like, okay. And just kind of looks at it periodically. And that would explain why he's able to jump in and teleport in, having already been aware of the conversation that was in the middle of it. And yeah, there's a lot of continuity counter stuff in this. But let's get this out of the way right off the bat. Before we even go any further. This is actually an arc counter episode. This is the end of several arcs, if you want to get down to it. That have been going back as far back as when the Cutie Mark Crusaders tried to get Big Mac together with Cheerilee, I would say. So Discord tends to discord it up by admitting that, oh, I can keep tons of secrets, and he mentions several secrets. My personal favorite secret was the fact that Twilight actually sleepwalks. Now, that probably sounds like a random throwaway joke, but actually, did you know that sleepwalking and basically being functional while being asleep is a really common trend for people who are A, overworked, and B, extremely organized in the way their thoughts work? I should probably mention that both myself and my mother have actually been fully functional while asleep before. It's extraordinarily disorienting when you wake up. But anyways, so he talks about this whole thing. He's like, oh my god, echo, echo, echo. Spike, of course, accurately guesses all of the gestures that Discord doesn't. And I don't know how better to describe this. The episode does a really good job of having Discord and Spike be Discord and Spike. And yeah, I noticed that too. She does that later too, Darth Vader. It's just like, they have good dynamic together. They have for a long time. And I kind of wish we'd honestly seen more episodes that focus on these two, but we'll have to live with like the 4 we have. Anyways, I love how Discord's like, alright, so how long is it going to take you to put all these where they need to go? Are they in the right places? And I love how, like, most people would be like, oh my gosh, and Spike's just like, are they in the right places? Probably. I mean, I think so. Okay, I'll go double check. Whatever. Whatever. And no, it doesn't, Sean. We're done with Rarity Crushes, hopefully forever. So then we cut to Mrs. Cake. And I wrote this in those. Remember, I've never seen this episode. And Mrs. Cake is very obviously doing something for Sugar Belle, who is running around and totally misses the apple. Ha ha ha. And now the apples are going to be reading their own messages out loud. Yeah, that is bad idea written all over it, of course. That all makes sense. Meanwhile, Spike completely screws up everything by burning the treats. Now, the thing is, those treats were already completely screwed up by Cake because she's really, really stressed. And baking, I mean, anybody who's done baking knows that baking takes a while and a lot of space, too. Like, what I mean by that is you can't generally do multiple bakings at the same time. You need space in the oven, and you need different temperatures and different times. So, you know, this type of dessert and this type of dessert, you literally can't bake in the oven at the same point in time because the oven needs to be at different temperatures and under different settings, right? And yes, sour cream and sweet cream are not interchangeable. So, my point is that that would be extremely stressful and it would take a lot of time to bake 21 freaking desserts. Different desserts, anyways. Should have just gone with one type of dessert, but whatever. Either way, so okay, that's what she's doing. Cool. But then Spike messes things up. This actually caught my attention. We are 4 episodes from the end of the series, and this is the first time it has ever been implied, never mind stated outright, that Spike can aim his messages. Believe it or not, this is actually a huge deal. This is extraordinarily interesting to think about on so many different levels. Because, yeah, Pinky probably could manage this. Of course, she'd probably have multiple Evans. Because before, he's been able to transmit messages back and forth to Celestia, and it's always been kind of vaguely implied that it's just a specific connection to Celestia, that the magic of the message is actually specifically to Celestia, nothing else. And yet here he shows that he can put those into something. And I do stress something, not necessarily someone. Even in Dungeons and Dragons, there's a spell where you can send a message to, it's called sending. But you still have to have a person who is a target in order to send that to. But just being able to send a message to a spot is huge. Now, maybe this was a throwaway gag, which it probably was, and maybe this is a development of his powers and he's getting better at it, which is possible. But yeah, I always assumed it was actually Celestia doing this, not Spike, if that makes sense. Interesting to think about, and of course, completely run past because it's just there for a gag. It's just, oh my god, there is so much you could do with that. So much so that I think I might actually borrow that power for, you know, my own D&D setting, make it like a side feed. So you can send a message to a specific target. Yeah, exactly, Lord Harrimont, because just... Anyways. Moving on, because the episode moves on immediately, which is a good thing to move on to, because I see Lyra and Bon Bon proposing to each other in the background, and I get out, aw, that's in my notes. I was about ready to start typing up some stuff. It's like, aw, finally they're tying the match. And then I didn't get past the third W before the scene moved on, and I'm like, wait, what? I counted. It's just over 1 second. It's actually 1 second and 10 frames of to get dedicated to this. In fact, I had to rewind it twice to actually catch everything that was happening. It is such a flash and you'll miss it thing. I'm a little bit shocked. Like that, I know you like your background elements, but let it linger or something. Jesus Christ. But it was extremely cute because, for those of you who didn't catch it, what specifically happens is Lyra is on her knees. You know, it's hair. I propose, and Bon Bon's like, "Aw," and then reaches behind her, and then pulls out a ring. It's really cute. I'm actually a little upset that it doesn't get more time and effort spent on it, because this episode clearly needed filler. I'll explain what I mean by that in a minute. So they're all freaking out, all the apples are going over, there's catastrophe everywhere. Spike is yelling at Discord, while Discord... Yeah, no kidding, Act. Spike is yelling at Discord, who defends his actions. It's like, I mean, it's whatever. I made the situation better. Spike's like, no, you suck. Go away, fix it. And then Mrs. Cake is like, Spike, you completely screwed up everything. And Spike is like, well, I mean, if you think about it, you know, I made things better, so. And I love how the episode never actually calls attention to the fact that both Spike and Mrs. Cake are effectively blame layering when they themselves are doing the exact same things that they are, you know, that they are guilty of. Just interesting little dynamic there. So then a scene happens. Well, Liz, you know, oh my God, Sugar Bell, Big Mac, Discord, Mrs. Cake. What did I do? I just thought we were saying each other's names. Remember that for a minute from now. It's a nice little moment. And then we rewind. Now, I actually like it when something pulls this off. Games, shows, movies, books. I like, here's the story thread, but we see it up here, and then we see it down here. I've actually commented on this before, because MLP has done this once before now, with a two-parter, actually, a pseudo two-parter, way back in whatever season that was. And it's a good thing to do. It allows so much when it comes to creative storytelling, and it allows you to do a lot with regards to framing and changing context. We actually see that in this episode, where there's this bit where Sugar Bell and the Cutie Mark Crusaders are like, oh my gosh, Spike and Discord are right outside. We need to sneak past them. And so they pretend that they're running away with the pie, and Sugar Bell pretends to be running after them. Which adds context to the earlier scene when we thought they were running away stealing with the pie, right? Nice little moments like that. It's not much, but it's good. And that kind of stuff is awesome and really helps elevate this episode in a way that it absolutely needs. So, naturally, Sugar Bell has her own plan, which is interesting. 22 desserts. I mean, honestly, just get 22 of the same dessert. If you're going to do this. Just... Meanwhile, Apple Bloom is the Discord of the Sugar Bell camp, which makes perfect sense. And we see a quick montage of them trying to find Big Mac, even though he's literally right there in visual range. So they run around montaging and shenaniganing. It's a big... This whole episode is just shenanigans. Until finally they come back and say, you know, my grandmother always says we should just stay here. And I like how the other two just look at her like, really? So they go talk to Grandma, and she describes Star Trek. Let's just get it out there. Grandpere was there, along with Mudbriar and Discord, who was pretty much the same. Yep. I did laugh, because she was like, oh, some space and Grandpere and Mudbriar with pointy ears, and that's the exact moment I caught it. And then mentioned the Discord being just the same, and I was just like, yeah, no, that tracks. This is when you could tell the episode actually needed to have some filler time, though. Did you catch that? Yeah, that got a laugh out of me, too, Medora. Because the episode not only has a bit of padding and filler to it, but it literally repeats a scene beat for beat. There's absolutely nothing different about the scene. This is usually considered a faux pas when it comes to directorial design, when it comes to a show. If you're going to show the same scene, you generally want to film it either separately or have a separate camera so that the second time around the audience sees something different. Instead, they just straight up repeat the same scene. And there's several little other beats where it makes clear that the episode was just kind of short, for lack of a better way to put it. And that happens. That happens in all production. And so they're like, okay, we need an extra 4 minutes. Where do we pull it up? And I feel like this is the reason for a lot of the shenanigans, and a reason for the repeat, and a reason for why all of the issues which are just kind of eyebrow-raising just kind of go away immediately the moment they're no longer needed. They're there to pad out the runtime, and then the moment they've hit their required second mark, Discord literally snaps his finger and they go away. It does drag the episode down a little bit, but I just wanted to comment on it because... yeah, anyways. So then they all fling accusations at each other. And then they switch to the documentary folk, where they all accept that it's actually themselves, except for the Apple Monster. That was Discord. And then I was all green, and then Grandpere looks at me all dramatical and says, where no pony has gone before. And then whoosh, away we flew. So the whole episode up until now has actually been, honestly, average. I mean, it's got some neat stuff, and it's got some good continuity, like some legit continuity. But it feels a little bit too rushed while simultaneously being too padded, and makes some serious issues here and there. The one place where the episode really shines for me is the outro. The trees, the proposal, the speech, and how many of you actually caught the fact that there was a stone in the background which still had the carving of the apple and the pear in it from way back when they first introduced that. And, you know, everyone brings back in, they do the music perfectly. Everyone's legitimately into it. Applejack is all dressed up and just, oh my gosh. And do you notice there was one basket of pears there too, just to kind of compliment her, because she's joining the pear family too, after all. And the ending actually got to me. It was sweet and it was heartwarming, and you could tell that some real effort had been put into those sequences. And I mean that not just in the writing perspective. The animation team obviously didn't do a lot of animation, but a lot of animating, if that makes sense. There's a lot of moving pieces in those scenes. Like literally dozens of separate characters and doodads and background elements, all of which had to be moved and propped and used properly. And it clearly, speaking as an animator, clearly took a long time to do those last few scenes, which is probably why they had to stretch out the rest of the episode so much. And then they go together, and Discord's like, ah. Spike's like, Discord! And Discord's like, oh, just let me have this one. Come on. And everyone's happy, and they marry. The end. So how do we rate this one? Happy marriage, happy apples. Happy marriage, happy apples. Happy marriage? I do think yellow is the floor here. I honestly, you'd have to probably work pretty hard to convince me of a yellow, because it is enjoyable, well acted, well produced. It has some good character dynamics. It is very in character for pretty much everyone involved. And we've got just a mountain of continuity and arc going on here. So honestly, I'm going to take that back. I'm going to say orange is the floor here. And yeah, the main six weren't in this. Did you catch that? In fact, I was looking this up. This is the there's been several episodes throughout the franchise that has not had the main six in them. This is obviously the last one. But it's interesting to think about that all the way here at the end, they have an episode which doesn't have them in it. Probably on purpose, because I'm pretty sure the next 3 episodes are going to be main six heavy, if I were to guess. I don't know. I mean, obviously we know what's happening in a generic sense, right? The villain team up is going to team up, and then we're going to see what's going on with Grogar, and they're going to be like, "War!" Oh yes, the paraposal. Smirk. Anyways, I'm seeing a lot of red, and I'm seeing a lot of agreement. And by that, I mean in my head, I'm seeing a lot of agreement. So let's go ahead and give that a red. We're pretty close to the end here, by which I mean we're finishing the show next week. Just as a quick amusement, I'm looking at Michael Vogel, who helped write this episode, and he's one of our rainbow writers. Everything from blue up to purple. But statistically speaking, he has more red than anything else. This was also written by Haber. Haber is the Red King. We've talked about him before. He is just red, 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 red. He's the farthest he's gone down is a green, and that's it. Haber has been, can I just say, it's been weird how good he's been for this show. If you remember, the first episode he did was Castlemania, which I did like. I was back in season 4. And then we hit Simple Ways, which I didn't care for that much. And then we hit Leap of Faith, which I really didn't care for much. And at the time, I made the comment of, God, who is this guy? And how he's just weird. And then he just sort of nailed it for the next 4 seasons. Just, bam. Just out of the park, dude. I honestly think the only one who surpasses Haber in terms of just general consistent quality is M.A. Larson. And the only reason M.A. Larson manages that is because M.A. Larson is the king of purple. Who has just smashed out purple after purple after purple. But yeah, Josh Haber definitely came into his own, because the next one they did was Bloom and Gloom, which was really, really good. And then just red, 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 purple, red, purple, red, purple, purple. And a bit of an average stuff, but then more reds. We gotta have more reds. It's been interesting. There's been a lot of interesting writing and interesting going through stuff. Again, for those of you who have actually been looking at the spreadsheet, you may notice that I've been keeping track of a few things, and I do tend to share that when we do our post-stream wrap-ups here on Darth Maduro. But yeah, for those of you who didn't hear it last time, just as a fresh reminder, next week, we're going to be starting whenever. Either means at 10 a.m. or at after Lore Week. I don't know. I can't know. I will always send out an announcement if there's going to be a Lore Week, so you can use that as your measure. But otherwise, it's going to be interesting. I'm a little bit nervous. I'm not sure what word to use here. I am curious, worried. I've seen a lot of shows terminate. I've seen the end of many shows in my years, and MLP has absolutely wormed its way into my heart. Not just because of how much I care about it, but because of how much I have had to talk about on it. I have learned and discussed so much about psychology and politics and suicide and friendship and relationships and being a grown-up and maturity and economics and military and all sorts of things going through this show. It has been a cavalcade of topics which has engaged my brain near nonstop. And I know that sounds pathetic, but trust me, for someone like me, that's a good thing. If you give me stuff to think about, then you have succeeded, at least when it comes to me. So this has been fantastic to go through. And yeah, so the percentages are updated, quote unquote, live. If you pay attention, you'll notice season 9 is completely blank. I'm kind of waiting until season 9 is concluded to fill all that in. I might fill in some of the stuff up till now. Because, yeah, like, if I was, for example, to just type in 20, you could see how this thing updates live right there. There's now 20 Lamentations in Season 9. There's 50 Lamentations. There's 500 Lamentations. All the Lamentations. But you get the idea. So you can see how that... And I probably will. I'll probably spend some time today going through and updating the sheet up to now. Everything including, except for the finale. And, We'll do this. Nothing but purple! There will be no other stream today. There will be no stream tomorrow. Tuesday, we continue 14, and hopefully start finishing up Stormblood. We won't finish up Stormblood Tuesday. There's a good chance we'll finish up Stormblood Wednesday, which means we'll be hitting Shadowbringers either Wednesday or Thursday. Either way, I do hope you've enjoyed, not just today, but in general. I'll see you Tuesday or next week.